Hello everyone, this is a post-commentary of the first Orre match I've ever played, or well, first 5 I've ever played. This was against KT. I had never played Orre before, not on Showdown or in person or anywhere. We played this on emulator online, because we are on 2 separate continents, so in person would have been a little bit difficult. The emulator is a little bit laggy, which is why there's no sound, and also the animations are a little bit laggy, but I've sped it up by 50%, so you might not really notice as much. I'll probably add some sound in the editing, some music or whatever. So yeah, KT asked me one evening, or morning I guess it was. I was up early, and for him it was late. He asked me if I wanted to play some Orre. I didn't have any teams, because like I said, I'd never played before. So I had a few hours before he got off work, and I tried to build something, and I was looking at some strong Pokemon like Tauros, who is very fast and strong, and Swampert, who can one-shot Metagross potentially. And I saw Metagross as a big threat. And while I was building, like I figured, you know what, why not just bring my Battle Tower double teams, which is Zapdos, Swampert, Articuno, Gengar, and then half of my Yanma Tauros team, which is the Swagger strategy. So that's exactly what I did. I did make, I think 2 changes. The Swampert went from Hasty with Ice Beam to Jolly with Brick Break, because Light Screen and Reflect are a thing in Orre. Usually they're on Latias, but neither of us ends up bringing Latias. And the Yanma had Signal Beam, and instead I went with Hypnosis, and with Compound Eyes Hypnosis is 80% accuracy. I'm not really a fan of low accuracy moves, but Yanma isn't really gonna do much else. So might as well make it a threat when it's just out on the field. And maybe force KT to target it, when he could otherwise just ignore it. So I did watch KT play Amaryllis before. And KT is also pretty new to Orre, and he's new to double battles in general. So that affects like how he team builds and plays. And that's also something I have to keep in mind. But we both didn't exactly bring meta teams. KT brought Latios, Zapdos, Metagross, which are really common, Snorlax as well. But then he also has Charizard and Clefable, which are less common. I think especially Charizard. Clefable is Follow Me, the bulkiest Follow Me user, I think. Although Togetic is immune to ground, so that would also be pretty nice. For our first game, I decided to lead with Zapdos Swampert, my standard lead, in the Battle Tower. And this is the version where I have Light Screen on the Zapdos. And I brought Gengar and Tauros in the back. So except for the Swampert, we're pretty fast. And one thing that's really different about a player, like playing against a player, I'm very used to playing against the Frontier, like the AI. Not only does the AI play very differently, but I know all the sets. I know how fast they are, I know how bulky they are, I know what moves they have. I don't know that right now. I don't know what KT decided to do. Is he plus speed nature on the Zapdos? Is he modest? And all that sort of stuff. I don't know his items. There is item class in Orre, so you can only have one of each item. Even if you, like, let's say I want to put Choice Band on Tauros and Swampert and only bring one at a time because we only bring 4, that's not allowed. You can only have one of each item on the entire team. So I go for Thunderbolt into his Zapdos, we outspeed, and we deal a little bit over 50%. We get the paralysis, which may or may not be impactful. If we're already faster, it may not really matter. And here, something I completely forgot about. Hidden Power on KT's Zapdos. Fortunately for me, he forgot that it was HP Ice and not HP Grass. But I did not at all consider that that was even an option. Because I'm just so Frontier brained, and in the Frontier I'm the only one running Hidden Power. So I didn't think about it at all. Here Body Slam does a massive amount of damage to Zapdos. Gets the paralysis, but we have Lumberry. So that's good for us. This is probably Choice Band Snorlax. With how much damage it deals. Here I meant to Thunderbolt the Zapdos, but I accidentally targeted the Snorlax and didn't realize. But we are lucky and KT goes for Detect. And I actually forgot to put Detect on my Zapdos, because I just took the one I had from the Frontier. And that one has Protect, because nobody in the Frontier is really running Imprison. I think there might be like a Pokemon or two in like the early rounds, but I've never seen it being used, I think, and even if it was used, it's not impactful. But in Orre, there is a strategy where you Imprison Protect and then you use Explosion. And you know your opponent cannot protect against it, so you get a double knockout. Or at least that's the plan. So Detect would have been better, but it didn't matter here. So now I'm locked into Earthquake against 2 ground immunes, which is not great. And that is the downside of this very powerful Earthquake. We get the one-shot Metagross, that's the upside. And the downside is like half the viable Pokemon are immune to ground. Like half of the top Pokemon, Latios, Latias, Legendary Birds, Gengar, some other Pokemon. There's a lot of ground immunities. So we set up a light screen. That's of course not enough to save our Zapdos. And I switch in the Swampert because, well, I can pick a move now, so I can go for Hidden Power Ghost. But also, if Thunderbolt is going into this slot, then we're immune. Thunderbolt is not going into this slot. It's going into the Gengar. And that would have done more damage. We get paralyzed again, but we have a Cherry Berry, so I don't want to say we got lucky because we brought these items for a reason, but it's fortunate that we get paralyzed on the Pokemon that have these items. And let's see, how much damage did it deal? I think without the light screen, Gengar might have just died. Because it reduces damage in doubles by like 33%, I think. Roughly. In singles it's 50%, but in doubles it's slightly less. So I think we would have died there if not for the light screen. Hidden Power Ghost does a lot of damage to this Latios. And we protect on the Thunderbolt, so that's really nice for us. Now I can hopefully outspeed the Latios and kill it with Ice Punch. But like I said, we don't know yet how fast everything is. Actually, no, we do know. The Zapdos outsped. Which means it's not max speed plus speed nature. It is neutral nature. So I actually did know I could just Ice Punch. And out comes the Metagross. And the Hidden Power Ghost is not quite enough to kill the Zapdos, but it's paralyzed. So that's good for us, because now we can switch out. And when we switch back in, we will have Earthquake. Which probably we didn't need it to win from here. I'm not sure. But it's definitely nice that the paralysis happened for us. So out comes the Tauros. Of course, Intimidate is not going to have any effect on this Metagross. Ice Punch takes down the Zapdos. I just need to remove this ground immunity. And then I can just win with an Earthquake from the Swampert. Assuming that I'm faster, that is. There's an Earthquake from the Metagross. Does not deal 50%. Because even though Intimidate doesn't do anything, Tauros still is quite bulky. I think base 95 defense, which you kind of forget about. Because you just think, oh, he's fast and he's strong. So we Thunderbolt, which does less than 50% to Metagross. And we go for an Earthquake. But we are unboosted. And we do not kill the Metagross, but we're in a 3v1. Meteor Mash. It's going to kill Tauros here. And there's one thing that I could have done. And that is for this upcoming turn. I could have protected the Gengar. And attacked with Swampert to check, does my Swampert outspeed? However, Hex items are allowed. This could be Bright Powder, this could be Focus Band. So I think I did think about it here. And decided to just attack anyway. So we do not yet know if we outspeed or not. Which will be very important. We have a plus speed nature, so if it's neutral nature we outspeed. But if the Metagross is plus speed nature, then it can outspeed us. So at the start of this game, I realized I should be taking notes. So I was taking notes, it just wasn't in the overlay, so I'm adding that now between battles. I cut it out, so we're going straight to the next match. And here, in my notes, it took like Latios is slower than my Zapdos, which is very important. The Zapdos was slower than my Zapdos, though it could have been a speed tie. And the T-Bolt does around 50%, that's important. I wrote down which moves they have, although I did forget a few, but that doesn't mean I forgot the moves existed. And I also wrote down the number of like the games, or for now it's only one game, like which Pokemon did they bring, or did KT bring? Because I think that can make it easier to figure out who does your opponent think are important in this matchup, who are they more likely to bring. So I can prepare for that with my own picks. And I decided for the second battle, we're gonna switch up the lead and go Yanma Tauros. And of course the strategy is just to go for Swagger. However, this first turn we're gonna double protect. Or I guess detect in the case of Yanma. I did remember to put detect on Yanma. And like it could be like a detect explosion from KT's side, which we obviously do not want to get hit by. So we double protect, scout what KT is doing. And I actually get surprised by another interesting move. And that is Psych Up on the Metagross. Very interesting. That could have been really cool if he got the +2 attack. I don't know if it would have actually mattered that much, but it would have been cool. And KT had been talking about Psych Up previously, but I didn't know he would bring it to Orre. I thought he was more thinking about singles, ADV. So this turn we do go for the Swagger. And I decide I want to take out the Zapdos first. Because we do have Swampert in the back who can just one-shot Metagross. If KT had gone for the Explosion this turn, I'm not sure. He probably doesn't even have Explosion. Actually, I'm not completely sure if we find out every move. But he has Earthquake, Meteor Mash, Psych Up. So the last move could be Explosion. That could have been really bad for us. But that's not what ends up happening. And Tauros does live just about any hit that is an Explosion, except we get crit here, so it's a little unfortunate. But now it's time to find out, potentially, is Swampert faster? I guess he could protect or switch. But we're gonna go for Swampert here. Click that Earthquake, and we're gonna go Hypnosis into the Latios. Here we are also gonna discover, does Latios outspeed Yanma? If it's neutral nature max speed, then it will always outspeed me. Which is a little bit unfortunate, but yeah, that's just how it is. Yanma does not have the best base stats. Does have decent speed, but not so amazing that we outspeed the base 110 and we get one shot before we move. But that's okay. Yanma did its job. Even though it got waylaid a little bit by the crit to the Tauros. And we go for the Earthquake, we outspeed and we one-shot the Metagross. So that's really good for us. But now we can't switch and we're locked into Earthquake and this Latios is here. So if we lose the Zapdos, we lose the match. And out comes Snorlax. Another Pokemon that can potentially explode. Or well, self-destruct in this case. So I'm trying to figure out, do I protect or not? And I decide to just Hidden Power Ice the Latios. And hopefully two-shot it. And I know Swampert two-shots the Snorlax. Or, never mind, I think I did go, no, I changed my mind again, I think. No, I did protect first, okay. It's been over a week and a half since I played, so I don't quite remember everything. Dragon Claw goes into the Swampert. I go for the Earthquake. And I think the Snorlax attacks into Zapdos. Yes, it does. Which is, I don't know, a little bit weird, I guess. Because we already know that Zapdos survives a Body Slam. So now I go for the Hidden Power. Into the Latios, we deal over 50%. So another one will be good enough. Here comes Ice Beam. Which is into the Zapdos. We live. Earthquake comes out. And we take down the Snorlax. We definitely could have lost this end game. If KT went for the double target into the Swampert. Not last turn, but the turn when I protected Zapdos. And now I just have to hope that this isn't like a roll and I'm rolling minimum damage. But we get a crit, so we will never know, I guess. So yeah, KT brought the same Pokemon 2 games in a row. And I did switch things up. But now I know that the Latios outspeeds Yanma and of course one-shots. So that makes it very risky for me to bring Yanma Tauros lead. Because I would be forced to either protect Yanma or switch out. And that means I only have Tauros to do something. And without a choice band, and I don't even have double edge, like we're not dealing enough damage to one-shot the Latios. And if we go for the two-shot, the Tauros is slower, so Latios is gonna get a move off first. So it's very risky. I think I do have the advantage that I'm the only one taking notes here. Maybe that's not true. But I remember when I watched Katie and Amaryllis play one of their first matches, they were talking about how different it was compared to Showdown. Because they don't have the information they would have on Showdown. So I assumed they weren't taking notes. And I used to play a little bit of VGC back in 2017, 2018. And I went to in-person events. And there, like, everyone has a notebook and is taking notes, so I'm used to it. Even though it's been a long time ago that I actually played doubles with no information. So here we see a new lead, Clefable, Charizard. And here, I wanted to Thunderbolt the Charizard. Like, I think I selected it like twice. And then I was like, I remembered game 1, I was like, wait, what if it's Hidden Power Grass on the Charizard? Because I've also been talking a lot with Twisted Motive, who you may know as the guy who's breeding for perfect shinies. And one of his targets was Hidden Power Grass Charizard, although he ended up getting Hidden Power Ice and just decided to roll with that. But Hidden Power Grass Charizard was on my mind, so I decided to switch to Light Screen because I think with Light Screen I can survive, but it's Substitute instead. And this was quite a greedy play from KT. He did not go for the follow me. So if I just Thunderbolted, Charizard just dies. But I didn't, so it worked out great. And there's the light screen. So we both have a light screen right now. But at this point I'm like, am I just screwed now? And I decide to protect the Zapdos, I think, because the Zapdos is not going to kill the Clefable, and it's definitely going to be follow me this turn. Into Charizard doing something. I guess I probably should have just attacked, because if I get like a crit, I could just kill. Or if it's still not follow me for some reason. And here comes Belly Drum, and I'm like, oh no. This is going to be Salak Berry, and it's just going to outspeed me and kill everything. The Earthquake takes down the Clefable. And let's see what's next. And it's the Metagross. So yeah. Problem is Charizard outspeeds everything and can one-shot each Pokemon that I have. And I also just protected the Zapdos. So I know I have to attack or switch. Although it doesn't really matter. So we were in voice call here. And I did say, well, you have to kill my Swampert because otherwise I kill Metagross. But that would have been very nice for me because then I could have probably killed, or maybe killed the Charizard because I'm targeting it right now. And then I would have two Pokemon who can kill. But unfortunately that had no effect on KT and he took down the Zapdos. Maybe I should have just gone for the Hidden Power Ghost. And here I decided to test something. I was like, well, I've lost anyway. I want to know, does my Tauros lift my own Earthquake? Because I felt like I would probably get one shot, and it did. This might end up mattering in like a later battle, so I figured I'm already gonna lose this battle, so I might as well find out now. Because I've never had to worry about Choice Band Earthquake. And even if I would have had to worry about it, Tauros normally intimidates the opponents. And of course I don't intimidate my own Pokemon, so no reduced damage. And now we are locked into Earthquake. So we cannot touch these Pokemon with Swampert. Yeah, probably should have tried to Hidden Power Ghost or something. Then maybe there was a chance that I can still win. But I didn't think about that in the moment. I was very terrified of Metagross. And Swampert's one job is killing Metagross, so I just went for the kill. Yeah, I think it would have been very difficult to come back from this, regardless of what I did. And here we just go down. So we don't know the last move on Charizard yet. Critical was definitely not needed there. But we do know there's a very dangerous belly drum strategy. So now I have to figure out how do I maybe counter this strategy. What are my options? Because I can bring Yamatauros and will be strong enough to one-shot the Clefable. But then he still gets the substitute, so it's not perfect, but it's decent. But of course, if he brings Latios, that's very risky. But we are up 1 win, so we can risk fishing for a good lead matchup, I guess. Also, if I just Thunderbolt Earthquake, I can maybe just kill the Clefable before it sets up the light screen. But I'm not sure how bulky it is. So yeah, I do take a little while trying to figure out who should be my last. We are going Tauros Yanma. Swampert is here again. Swampert is just so powerful. And like I said, I am very afraid of Metagross. Metagross is difficult to kill. And potentially very dangerous. But it's a slightly different lead here from Katie. It's Clefable Snorlax. And we don't know too much about the Snorlax. We only know Body Slam. I am expecting Follow Me here. And I think I decide to go for Hypnosis. Though I'm not sure that's actually the play I should have made. Should have maybe just gone for Swagger. But we did at least intimidate the Snorlax, so that's good for us. But if it is Choice Band like I think it is, probably would still kill Yanma. But we go for the Hypnosis here. And there was no Follow Me, right? Was there? And I decided to go Earthquake because I'll hit both Pokemon. We deal some damage, but not really enough to two-shot. I think Clefable probably didn't go for Follow Me because Katie was expecting the Earthquake. There's the Body Slam, and with the Intimidate we take less than 50%. Fortunately, we do not get paralyzed. And now I decide to Swagger. Oh wait, the reason I didn't Swagger, I forgot. I don't know if Swagger is affected by Follow Me. I would assume that it is, but I'm also like targeting my own Pokemon and I'm not sure how that's programmed in Gen 3. So that's why we didn't Swagger. And we went for the Hypnosis. Now we just go for a return, knock out the Snorlax. And we are in a pretty good position now. Out comes the Zapdos. And Clefable, of course, is still asleep. I think... I'm not completely sure yet if the Zapdos is speed tied with my Zapdos. Or am I? No, I think didn't I outspeed and one-shot with Tauros at some point? Okay, I think I probably do know. Here, I'm not completely sure what KT's plan was. He detected the Zapdos and then followed me. And I missed the Hypnosis, which doesn't really matter here, because we're gonna return. But I would have returned into the Detect. So... Of course, he didn't know that Clefable was gonna wake up, but... I don't know what Follow Me does here. So that may have just been a misplay or just a misclick. And we go for Hypnosis because we don't really have much better to do. We could thief and scout an item. That's maybe something I should have done. But we can be one-shot anyways by the Latios, so that doesn't matter too much. And here comes an Ice Beam, so that is the one-shot onto Yanma. But that's fine with me. Just means I get to swap into a strong Pokemon. And I go with Swampert again. Who would be immune to a potential Thunderbolt, but I don't think it would be a double target. And I wonder, would Latios have been able to kill the Tauros there? Because it outspeeds, and I think it would do enough damage, right? Maybe we see that right here, actually. Yes, it did do enough damage, so the Zapdos could have been alive still, but this might be that Hypnosis pressure that I was talking about, where just putting that move on Yanma makes your opponent want to target it because they're afraid of being put to sleep. And we almost one-shot with Hidden Power Ghost, and from here we just win. We double Hidden Power. There's a Protect on the Latios, which is good to know that there is a Protect. I guess this was... had we seen Protect before from the Latios? It's not in my notes, but I know I forgot to put some things in there, so... But I guess this is... If it hadn't shown it yet, this is technically a misplay because this gave me information and like there's no way the Latios wins anyway. So we're up 3-1. So if this was best of 5, which I think originally it was, I would have won at this point. But we decide to play 5 games anyway. And for the last battle, I didn't know what to bring. And Katie said you should lead Yanma Articuno, so I decided sure, why not? That's definitely not what I would bring normally. But we do bring it here. It's gonna take me a little while to get there. Because I was indecisive about what I wanted to lead this time. But we'll get there eventually. Not yet though. Oh, going back to Swampert. Zapdos, and then here I think it's where Katie said you should leave Yanma Articuno, and I'm like, sure, why not? Now I just needed to figure out my last Pokemon, and it is Swampert. Because Choice Band is just good. So here we go, Yanma Articuno against... It's gonna be Clefable Charizard. That is the lead that KT won with, so that makes sense. But I do have one thing that can counter the Charizard, and that is I have Haze on the Articuno. But that is not quite gonna play out how I may have liked it to play out. So this turn is gonna be Follow Me, Substitute again. There's the Follow Me. Out comes the Hypnosis, and we miss again. I think we missed 2 out of 3 Hypnosis. This is why I never use sleep moves. Or inaccurate moves in general. This is exactly why. Even though we're playing like a best of series where you can take the risk of going for something like a Hydro Pump because, I mean, you're much more likely to hit, but that doesn't guarantee that you're gonna hit. And here, I don't think KT will go for Belly Drum, but if he does and I don't haste, then it's just GG. So I cannot afford to let him do this. So I'm going for the haze. And we do finally put Clefable to sleep. And there's Overheat, so we're actually gonna restore Charizard's special attack back to neutral, which is a little bit unfortunate. Also, Articuno just lives Overheat, because Articuno is a beast with a base 125 special defense. And this Charizard probably has no special attack investment, because it's Belly Drum. And the Overheat is probably there for like a Metagross or something. Something that resists normal. I guess Gengar as well. So yeah, now I have to figure out what do I do. Do I haze again just in case? But like it's... Clefable is asleep now, so it won't be able to follow me. Assuming it doesn't wake up. Actually, no, it followed me before it had a sleep turn, so it's guaranteed to sleep this turn. And I actually go for the Protect, because I figure it's probably going to be Return into the Articuno now, and it is. And we have Leftovers, which is kind of useless. Probably should have given it a different item on this set. Probably should have given it like a Hex item or something, but I'm not used to actually using those because like in the Frontier I think they're usually very bad. I'd rather have something that's consistent, but Leftovers in doubles usually isn't very good. I just didn't really like know what else to bring and didn't put too much thought in it when I was building the team. Normally it's never Melt Ice, but I figured I would not be up against the grass types that I need that item for. I guess I could have boosted my damage against the Ladies, but not enough to one-shot, so it doesn't really matter. We break the Substitute. And I think Articuno is going to go down here. And it does. And now we can send out Yanma. And I still didn't know, and I still do not know, spoiler, I guess, if Swagger gets redirected by Follow Me in this situation. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna click Swagger, and if you wake up, then we're gonna find out how it works. But KT's Clefable did not wake up, so we did not find out. And it is still a mystery to me. But I'm gonna assume it would redirect it, but like I said, it targeting your own ally, I don't know if they programmed that in Gen 3 to be affected by Follow Me or not be affected by Follow Me. Yeah, stays asleep. We already know we outspeed the Charizard. So we can just kill it here. We know it doesn't have Protect. Down it goes. And that is, in a way, the most dangerous Pokemon gone. Of course, without the Belly Drum, Charizard isn't dangerous at all. Or at least not very. And here comes Snorlax. And I decide to go Hypnosis Earthquake. In case the Clefable wakes up and goes for Follow Me. And it does wake up. And it does go for Follow Me. So getting some damage on both of them is very nice here. Hypnosis lands, so now we're 2-2, I think. And the Snorlax is not intimidated this time, but it only did like less than 50% to the Tauros last time, so it would need a paralysis to really achieve anything. But instead, it goes for self-destruct, and we lose all of our Pokemon. So I guess maybe return into the Clefable would have been better, because then the next Pokemon is forced out and has to tank self-destruct. I didn't really think about that in the moment. And self-destruct, of course, had not been revealed yet. So now we both have one Pokemon left, and I have Swampert. I'm like, well, if this is not Metagross, I probably lose, because I almost one-shot the Latios, but it outspeeds me. So it's gonna get 2 hits off, and it's pretty sure it's gonna 2-shot me. Against Zapdos, it's probably like a 3-shot, and it probably 3-shots me with Hidden Power Ice. So I probably lose, but it is Metagross. And we just click Earthquake and win. So we got quite lucky with the last Pokemon situation there. It's probably the only scenario where we win. Unless we get a crit or something. But yeah, that were the first 5 battles that I ever played in Orre. And we went 4-1, which is nice for us, but it could very easily have gone very differently. We could have lost multiple of these battles if like one different decision was made. But it was fun. And I hadn't played PvP doubles in a very, very long time. So I guess I played a tiny bit of VGC for like 1 week in, what, like 2022? That was just online. So that was a bit different. But before that, and like that was only 1 week. Or around 1 week. And before that it was like 2018 that I last played. Maybe 2019. But I think 2018. So that was quite a while ago. And this was fun. Of course, I still have to get used to the format. I feel like for me it's very difficult to build a team because there's just some very difficult threats to deal with, like the Metagross and the Latis. Like the metagames feels very top heavy to me, although there's a lot of good Pokemon, but some of the Pokemon are just very, very good and very tough to deal with. And then if you bring like something like the Earthquake Choice Band Swampert, great into Metagross, but then you're locked into Earthquake against the Latis. So that's not great. So I've been struggling team building, although like I hadn't done any team building before this and after this, except for when KT asked me to play again. And we have already recorded another best of 5. And for that I really struggled with building a team because I had like a bunch of ideas, but I wasn't happy with how they were like working out as a team. Like I had like half a team, but I couldn't figure out what the other half should be, and I had another half of a team and I couldn't figure out what that half should be, but together they didn't make a whole team. But yeah, that's struggles for another video. I hope you found this interesting, my first Orre experience. It is interesting and there will be more of it on the channel. I don't know how much. Maybe this will become a more regular thing, depending on who all wants to play Orre and how much I enjoy it as well. Because I've only played KT so far. Amaryllis hasn't been active lately, so maybe when he comes back I'll play some Orre against him at some point. I don't know. I guess we'll see. Let me know what you thought. If you thought this was fun. And if you would like to see more of it. But that's it for now. Thank you for watching and I'll see you next time.